Welcome to this tutorial on the SECANT cutting optimization system. What we're going to look at today is your first interactions with the SECANT system and look at creating your first job, running your first data through to optimize solution. When you first open up SECANT, you'll see your job library, giving you all the jobs that you have available on your system, along with various metrics to allow you to analyze these jobs. You can look at this on a folder by folder basis, or you can work with the most recent jobs that you've interacted with. There's a few different ways of getting data into the SECANT system, importing your cutting lists from Excel files or CSV files. What we're going to look at today is entering data directly into the SECANT program. So the first thing we do is we create a new job, clicking on the new toolbar button, and we give this job a name. We can use this job to refer to the data at any point, bringing the information back at a later stage to interact with, modify, and report on at a later stage. When creating the job, we can import control sets from the library that we have defined on our system, and we can also import stock information from default stock files which we have configured. For today, we're just going to accept the two defaults which we have currently available for ourselves by pressing the OK button. At this point, our job dialog will open up showing information for this particular job that we're interacting with. Now, this job dialog can be configured by yourselves to your preferred setup. However, for today, we're just going to remain with the default settings, which is your cutting list in the top left. That gives you a list of all the parts that you need to produce. Your stock file in the bottom left, which is the stock availability to produce these parts from. This will have been copied in from the default stock file that we specified previously. On the right-hand side of the screen, we can see our cutting control information. Cutting controls configure how the patterns are going to be produced, and they include information such as blade loss and trims, restrictions on the complexity of the pattern, including the number of turns, third phase cuts and parts in process. Controls to configure the book height to make more efficient use of your saw, and controls which affect the use and production of offcuts. As I say, today we're going to look at entering data directly into the system. So to enter our cut parts, the minimum we have to enter for each part is an identifier, a length, a width, and a quantity. We can enter further information, such as the overmake, which is parts which may be produced but do not have to, if this would produce useful parts from what would otherwise have been wasted material. And we can also specify a material for these parts if we're planning on mixing parts for different materials within the same job. However, today we're assuming that all parts within this job are for the same material. So I've set my list of parts to be produced. I have my stock availability brought in from my default stock file, and I have my default control set up. So all that remains is to ask the system to produce the optimized results. Once the optimization has completed, the optimization summary is shown with some basic information on the result we have gained, the number of patterns which will be used, how many different sheets are required to produce this solution, the number of books, including book efficiency, and then percentage metrics, what's been usefully used material, what will be returned as offcut, and what will also be sent away as waste. Once we accept the information we've seen on that screen, our patterns are displayed to us in the center of the screen here. We have information in a printed report beneath the diagrams. This can once again be customized by yourselves, and we can step through each of the available patterns using the previous and next patterns in order to view the information that we have. While SECANT will generate the most optimum solution it can given the restrictions that are placed on it, we may choose to edit the patterns ourselves to make better use of our material by perhaps violating some of the rules we have informed the system about. For example, I may choose to make use of this offcut to produce additional parts, knowing that I'm actually overproducing on my requirement. I can also reproduce full strips, once again knowing that I'll be overmaking on the required product. I can bring parts in from the cutting list into patterns. If we ever make a change which violates any of the rules we have given the system in terms of controls, the system will permit you to do so, but will flag this as an error in the top left-hand portion of your pattern browser here. If you click onto this control, it will tell you exactly what rule you have violated. So here, for example, I had told the system I wasn't permitting third phase cuts, but I've added a third phase cut in when I've added this part. Simply going to remove that piece and the error disappears. Once I'm happy that my patterns are how I want them, I can look to produce printed reports. Various printed reports are available on your system, which can include both diagrammatic representations of your patterns, summary of the various metrics during production of this pattern, including lengths of cut, etc. How many panels have been produced, and the stock usage for this particular product, including offcuts were returned back to stock.